All right, everybody. Well, welcome to our latest webinar. The onus of this is very, very simple. Have you ever met with somebody or you heard about somebody in a networking group and you're really excited about meeting with them? And then you go on their LinkedIn and it's like, wah, wah. Well, that's exactly what happens a lot of times because people aren't really prepared to have a kick-ass LinkedIn profile. And so Tash is going to be walking us through today all sorts of magnificent ways that you can go ahead and optimize your LinkedIn. And please remember, you can ask us questions during the webinar whenever you want. You can either put them in Q&A or you can put them in chat. What I would love for all of you to do, and this is going to sound a little dorky, but share your LinkedIn profiles in the chat so that other people can connect with you and you guys can all look at each other's LinkedIn's too. So don't do that, of course, while we're in the middle of the webinar, because then you're not paying attention to what we have to say, and that would suck. But anyway, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Matt Haller, and I am the co-founder of Proudmouth with Kirk Lowe, my business partner. According to LinkedIn, we started this in 2016. I actually thought it was in 2017, but so we've been almost doing this for 10 freaking years. And I'm also the author of the first book on social media for financial advisors called The Social Media Handbook for Financial Advisors. And here's the best part. Until I met our new team, I really thought I knew a lot about social media. And then I met Tash and her team, and she has brought all of us to a different level. So I'd like to introduce you to Tash.
Hey, everybody. So my name's Tash. I'm head of customer success here at Proudmouth, and I come with oodles of digital marketing experience. I also come with a lot of other tricks in my tool belt, and those are because I have data and analytical background, a software development background. I am a nerd when it comes to digital marketing. That is my favorite thing ever. And I also have a background in training. So for me, you're going to see real live experiences. I'm going to give you scenarios. I love to take something that's very complex and bring it to life and make it something that's a little bit more simplified so that the everyday person can understand it. So I'm really pumped to be able to be here today. Matt, we always have so much fun whenever we're doing these types of things together. Proudmouth has so much awesome energy here and a lot of really, really talented people. Um, Kirk and Matt, I want to also say, did you notice that I put some cartoons in here to go with your new podcast? Because your cover art is all amazing and podcasty. And that is kind of leaning into where I'm going here with consistency on everything that we do. So, quick handshake, Matt. It is always nice to virtually chat with you, and you are sweaty, so I think you're nervous.
I did just have a second cup of coffee and I was eating a chocolate bar and my wife was like, I don't think you need that much energy, honey. But I'm like, oh, come on. I'm with Tash. I got to bring it today. So
I think Kirk mentioned something about taking things down a notch. He said, "Yeah, I feel like I come in like a Ferrari when
yeah,
people are still tying up their sneakers
yeah,
sometimes." So,
no, it's okay.
guys, if you have questions, please drop them in that chat and we can answer them as I go. And if we need to revisit something, there's going to be a question section at the
Mhm.
end.
All right. So you have a whole bunch of really, really wonderful data and stuff. And I'd like to dive into that. But here's the real premise is a lot of you don't realize that your LinkedIn is actually hurting you. And I'm going to tell just a very, very quick story before Tash gets into all of the details and stuff about what we're going to talk about today. So as all of you should know, a chief revenue officer means that I do all the sales here for Proudmouth. I shouldn't say that because Kirk does selling too, but I do the majority of selling here at Proudmouth. And so I had a call with a guy. He came through a free strategy session link, which is something that we offer pretty regularly here. And so I'm doing my Googling, right? I'm on his LinkedIn profile and I'm on his website. And then he got on the phone and Tash, he'd lost 200 pounds. And I'm not exaggerating, 200 pounds. And I was like, is Jack gonna show up? And he's like, I'm Jack. I was like, oh my God, dude. He's like, yeah, I know I need to upload or update my pictures. And I'm like, dude, first
Yeah.
off, it wasn't a bait and switch, right? But I was like, and I said to him, I was like, dude, that was shocking. And he's like, yeah, it's just so much work managing all my LinkedIn. I was like, no, it's not, dude. I was like, just take you 5 minutes to go ahead and update that. So anyway, sometimes your LinkedIn can hurt you, but we're going to talk today about how it can help you. So Tash, take it away.
Yeah, no problem. I've run into that so many times. And you know what sometimes is more striking? I find everybody has these professional photos that they take. And those ones aren't always the best photos. Sometimes it's one of those, candid photos where you're out in the real world that can be one of the best photos that you've got as well. And there's so many cool ways with AI apps that you can actually make them look professional. All right. So your profile, it's your first impression. LinkedIn is the first place that people visit before they book calls with you, before they subscribe, before they click your link. You just said it yourself, Matt. That's where you went before you even hopped on a call to prepare. Here's the facts. LinkedIn has over 1 billion members, with more than 134 people being on LinkedIn every day. That is a huge audience in that area. And everybody that is in the business world and networking is there. It is the go-to place. So we need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile really aligns with what you're doing, who you are, and is consistent at all times. 4 out of 5 of those LinkedIn users, those are decision makers. Who else are we trying to appeal to is the decision makers. We need to think about LinkedIn not only as our network connection, as our key marketing, one of our key marketing strategies, but it also needs to be almost like a billboard for us. It's our business card. It's our handshake. It is the one thing that we need to make sure aligns with everything that we do. And Matt, how many times have you gone to a event and you've reached out and you gave somebody a handshake? Can you imagine if they didn't shake your hand back?
Yes.
That
Yeah.
would be such
Yeah.
an awkward feeling.
Yeah.
So you would make sure that you were shaking that decision maker's hand.
Hmm.
So it's really, really crucial that, again, your LinkedIn profile is aligned with everything that you are doing and it is so presentable. 77% of those buyers will not engage with a weak profile. So if it doesn't give you a handshake vibe, you ain't engaging.
I'm going to add to something here real quick, and I know you're going to jump into average Joe, but one of the things that I want everybody to know, because not everybody here um, is as familiar with Proudmouth as maybe some people are, but we test the stuff on Kirk, Proudmouth, and myself before we really launch it out to everybody. And we give it, a month or so or a couple of weeks in order to let things dial in. And we made the changes and I can only speak to my profile. Well, I talked to Kirk in my profile. So a couple of weeks ago, we made changes to our profile based off of this webinar and everything that we wanted to present to you. And I cannot tell you the increased impressions. I'm showing up in search engines more. Um, I'm getting more traction, more people viewing my profile because of the tweaks that Tash is going to talk about today. And the foundation really is the average Joe. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Tash. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in there.
Those are wins all the way around. I absolutely love hearing that. Um, it is the secret sauce, Matt. We have figured out that secret sauce. And, for anybody who the average Joe is going to be my example today, um, I think it's very, very important that we use average Joe as our example just to be able to walk through a whole situation. So think of average Joe as yourself, and he has a career as a financial advisor. He works with veterinarians. He runs a podcast. And a fun fact about him, he really, really loves dogs. So he has his LinkedIn profile up and running. He's got Instagram, he has Facebook, he's got his website, he has YouTube, he has all of the amazing things that you think you should have in digital marketing. He is moving along very, very well. He's worked really hard. He set up this whole system. His whole main goal is new business, and he wants some speaking opportunities too. So that could be maybe on somebody else's podcast, or maybe you want somebody to reach out to him and come and speak at a TED Talk. But he really needs to focus on that podcasting portion. Why? Because what is podcasting? Podcasting is your true, authentic voice. especially with the world of AI today and how quickly you can just draft something up and post it on there. We need to make sure that your authentic voice is really truly reaching your end audience and it is showing up in everything you do. It needs to be really, really consistent. So, the best way of me explaining this is actually this wheel. Okay, if you think of hopping on your bike and you got a wheel here, your wheel is going to be really, really strong and take you places really quickly. If it is balanced, number one, it's consistent. And I want us to visualize all of these different platforms as the spokes on those wheels. So the more spokes you add, the more services you add, the more things you're doing, it is important that we think about those as the spokes, but the center of it is your voice and how you really portray yourself across all of those platforms. I'm going to stop for a second and, you know, get you guys all to just comment below. If you have all of these platforms and you feel like your wheel is, in motion and you have similar goals.
You know, Tash, one of the things that makes me happy about your analogy with the wheel is my wife and I like to ride our bikes and mountain bike, right? And so when every year we have to get our bikes tuned up, and one of the things that they do when they tune up is they check the tension for all of your spokes. And if you have one bad spoke, right? So can you go back one slide? So you go back and you look at those things. If you don't have all of those spokes, or if those spokes are uneven, then your bike rides like this, right? I mean, and it's not fun and it's not smooth. And more importantly, you can't go fast, right? Because of you're not having a complete system with something really, really strong in the middle, which in our case is the full video and the full podcast that we do for our clients. But I love your spoke, wheel and spoke analogy here. And I just think it's fun to think about if one of those spokes is gone and the fewer spokes you have, the less smooth the ride's going to be.
Absolutely.
So Lindsay said, I don't have all of them in place professionally, but I do use all of those outer sports services. This is interesting. Um,
Mm.
I intentionally use my married name for personal and social media. So just so you know, Lindsay, we hear that a lot. That especially if you have a different persona, you want to keep work and business separate. There are a lot of times where you use your maiden name. But I'm glad that you have all of those in place. But what we're talking about is making sure that they're all rolling in the same direction, pointing people to ultimately potentially do business with you.
Absolutely. And it is important, especially in your business strategy. If you think about your personality there, that's where you really want to hone in on that consistency across. Your personal can kind of veer off of that a little bit, but it is nice to always think about putting those links and optimizing your profiles so that they still go to your business profiles. Because, man, your friends better be your number one supporters in your family as well. If not, there might be a problem.
Yeah.
So imagine this. Joe, he's been creating some strong content. He's got his podcast just a rolling. He is showing up. He's got his voice out there. He's feeling good. You're producing your video series, your blogs, your content, and you're getting great feedback on those shows. Now, what happens when LinkedIn just isn't driving the opportunities?
Mm-hmm.
You're posting frequently, you're staying consistent because consistency is key in the strategy to your success. Um, but he's not getting any clients, he's not getting anyone booked, and he's not getting invited to speak or collaborate. One of those spokes is broken, just like you mentioned, Matt. She's definitely damaged and it's feeling slow. So why is that? My profile's optimized. Go and I take a look and hey, I got my professional photo, I've got my banner, I've got a headline, my about section's filled in, the contact info's there, the employment history is all there, your education, your certificates. I don't understand why this isn't working. I've I've heard this before. People spend thousands of dollars paying for the service to get their profile optimized, and it looks great. Everything is filled in. They get everything, a whole delivery package that here you should put this here and you should put that there. And usually, what does that process look like? It's somebody that you reach out to. You fill in this big long questionnaire that takes you an hour and a half to fill out. You feel like you just filled out your resume and sold your life to the Eskimos. And what do you get back? Well, you get back some really pretty text that you can slide in there, and it takes all the information that you checked off and applies it. But what did it just do? It created a profile that sounds like your last job.
Mm.
It sounds like a resume, essentially. It never mentions your niche. It doesn't talk about what you're currently doing today, the solutions you're going to provide, that billboard of who you are and what you're currently doing. It doesn't reflect that authority that you've become, your point of view, your value, any of your call to actions. So that spoke is broken. And those call to actions, think of it like you're traveling through. You've got your podcast as the hub, and you're traveling through to the end, and it ain't getting to the wheel to make that wheel turn anymore.
So, Tash, this was just really kind of kismet craziness, but right before this, I had a sales call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I knew we were doing the webinar, so I was preparing for it this morning and all of that stuff. And so, part of what we do here at Proudmouth when you do a free strategy session is we get your website links and your LinkedIn, your socials, and I look at those before the free strategy session, right? And Tash, I said to him right at the beginning of the call, I said, "Hey, what are you doing in an hour?" He's like, "What? What are you talking about?" I was like, "Dude, I just looked at your LinkedIn profile. You have to join our webinar because we're going to address all of the things that are wrong." Because here's the crazy thing. He spent $2,000, Tash, to have them optimize his LinkedIn profile and do social media posting for him, and he's getting zero traction. And everything you just said here is the reason he's not getting the traction. And so I
Mm-hmm.
just thought that was, well, I hope he's here. If not, I'm hoping he's listening to the recording. But it was just unbelievably powerful. No, Roxani, it's not you. Sorry if Roxani just messaged. But it's so important to think about, number one, that there are a lot of people, just like you said, Tash, who are out there charging a lot of money to optimize your LinkedIn profile and not getting a lot of results.
No, and you see it, you read it, you're like, wow, this sounds very smart. This is
Yeah.
amazing. I'm going to put that on there. It sounds professional. It's great. But when they sat down and they did this for you, did they understand your overall strategy? Did they understand what you were trying to achieve? Did they understand your goal and your vision? What were those two main things, those two pillars that you were trying to achieve for your goal? That was bringing in new business, and it was creating new speaking opportunities. And if they're creating these profiles that are just, here's the list of questions, how are they going to capture that? And what if, when you read it, because message received is not always message delivered, if they read that text that said goals, what if you didn't think about the speaking arrangements, or it didn't pop up, or they didn't prompt the right questions because you're just filling out a form? How many times have you had a conversation with somebody and go, I wish I said that? There's no relationship there, and they don't get the whole marketing wheel itself and all the things linked to it. All they're doing is optimizing a profile. And they did the job, but they didn't do the job that's going to fit your entire wheel strategy. Okay, so let's talk about your audience's journey. And Matt, I'm going to put you almost like the average Joe. You got into a speaking arrangement, and everyone loves Matt. If you've ever been to a speaking arrangement and seen Matt speak on stage, you'll fall in love with Matt too. So they're coming up and they're creating this really awesome vibe with you and having these interactions, and they leave feeling good. And I want to work with Matt. I want to work with him. And then they go and they look at your LinkedIn profile and it falls completely flat. That tire, she's flat, she's blown
Yeah.
at that point. Right? So all this hard work, all this money you have spent to optimize your profile, falling flat is not good. And can any of you guys relate to an experience that you might have had where you've had this really cool interaction with somebody and now all of a sudden it reads like a resume? And it's like, is that the level of work I'm going to get from them? Do I want to work with them?
You just said something wildly important there. It should not only grab your persona, right, and really continue this journey that Tash is talking about, but it should also show your attention to detail. It should also make people start feeling like, oh, okay, I could work with this, right?
Mhm.
I could work with this person because, again, everything is consistent across the board. That's just so vitally important.
Well, I want to add to that too, because when somebody goes onto LinkedIn and they post, again, how many of you guys have posted and then ghosted? I show your hand because we get so busy and caught up in our day-to-day lives that we don't have the time to go onto LinkedIn and respond to all of the messages or respond to all the comments that you're getting on your posts. Can you imagine delivering something to somebody or working with somebody and not responding to their email?
Yes.
I wouldn't want to work with somebody.
Yeah.
So as much as you can optimize your profile and you can have it sitting there crisp as a button, you need to make sure that you're also present. So, thinking about the algorithm and the things we were talking about on our last webinar, make sure that when you post, you don't ghost. You go back there, even if it's 2, 3, 4 days later, set up some time in your calendar to go and respond and comment and be active on those posts. The reason one is you're showing good character, you're showing
Mhm.
consistency, you're showing what it would be like to work with you, but you're also feeding the algorithm. You have
Mhm.
people commenting, you go and comment, brings it back up to the top. It is no longer based on, how frequently do people post? It is how valuable is the content that they are posting. And what's going to make people want to comment on your posts? Things that feel like the authentic
Mhm.
you. So we know LinkedIn, that's the first place that you go, you validate, you decide, or you search, you validate, you connect, and this is your deciding factor. Hey, I want to reach out, I want to connect with this person. This is, think of your wheel and your system. So it's either coming from your system, maybe they've landed on your podcast or one of your shorts, which has now, because you've optimized your profile so well, driven them back to your LinkedIn page.
Mhm.
Well, what if your LinkedIn page falls short or it's great? That scenario happens so many times. So you've got this wheel of all of these tools working for you. The magic is happening. Maybe you're running ads. Maybe
Mhm.
you are creating FAQs. Maybe there's a whole bunch of different tactics that you are doing. And with Proudmouth, we work with so many people that have additional marketing strategies, and it's really important that we understand your overall umbrella strategy so that we can make sure that all of your stuff sounds the same. Because it's not just about the podcast; it's about all of the content. It's about the way you're portrayed everywhere on all of these social channels. So it's so crucial that you share with us exactly what you're doing. No too much information is never a bad thing, because we want to avoid that broken wheel. Because not only can you get it going directly from one of these channels, Instagram, Facebook, takes you to LinkedIn, or you could land on LinkedIn first, and it's got to drive you to your website, drive you over to the other platforms. You've got to make the wheel work both ways. And
Mhm.
if you think about that concept for all of your platforms, it'll really simplify things for you and bring that wheel so that you really get that traction and you can feel like you're going downhill instead of uphill. So how do I do this? How do I put LinkedIn as the front and the stage and my banner and make sure that everything sounds cohesive and consistent? Well, we do that here with a strategy called My Voice Print. And that's what we do with a lot of the things that we accomplish here at Proudmouth. And it's actually meeting with you, and it's chatting, and it's understanding, what do you want your whole persona to feel like? How do you want your audience to feel everywhere that they go? And we came up with the name My Voice Print, as one of the weapons in our tool belt. Let's put it that way. Um, because we love the idea of it being like your voice. You are taking your voice and you're applying it to everything you do, your content, your visuals, um, your show, your shorts, your FAQs, the way that you're running your ads. Everything has to do with My Voice Print. And that experience that you go through is an experience here. You get to work with somebody one-on-one and sit down and actually build that out and see it be applied to everything that we do. And I put a little link in here just in case anybody has more questions on learning more about My Voice Print, because Matt is your man and he would love to sit down and have a discovery call with you. So grab your phones, grab that QR code. Um, Again, this isn't about reinforcing messages everywhere that you go. It's about, what are those goals that you actually want to achieve? Let's say Joe, for instance, he
Mhm.
wanted new business and he also wanted to show up on speaking arrangements.
Yeah.
So it's important that we capture all of that. We make sure that it applies everywhere.
Tash, Jessica also put that link in the chat too, so they can click on it there.
Perfect. So let's dive in a little bit more. The link's on here too if you missed it. Well, what's out and what's in? Best way to put it is what's trending. So templated keywords, bio-stuffed fillers, that's out. Okay, we don't want to hear it. I don't have a lot of time in my day. Regardless, I want to be able to see exactly what you do, what you're going to solve, how you're going to solve it, how you're going to make me feel. um, Empty feature tabs or outdated PDFs, don't put them on there. Keep it in your system so that you can send them to them. Make sure that you're updating all of those things consistently. You do not want somebody to download something that was from back in 2000, because that's not who you are anymore. You have probably rebranded, you've probably shifted, you've probably changed. You may have grown not only career-wise, but even fundamentally in the way that you think, speak, and the logic. So you want to make sure that your content is always current, especially if you're going to have downloadables.
Mhm.
AI generated posts. So just slapping something in there for the sake of posting is not going to get you any extra views and, brownie points. It's the lazy way out, in my opinion. You can
Mm.
certainly use AI to do a lot of cool things, but you need to make sure you've got your brain working behind the scenes. Resume style bullets. Not that I don't care what university you went to and all
Mhm.
the cool education you have and the places you've worked and all the things that you did. How did you get there?
Mm.
Doesn't matter. To me, I want to know exactly who you are today, what skill sets you have, how you're going to fix my problem,
Mhm.
and the steps you're going to do it or to make it happen. Buzzwords, we don't need any of the buzzwords. What we do want, and stock photos, what we do want is your voice to sound like the person that's on your show.
Mm.
Or it could be that you do short clips. It could be that, some of the seminars that you're on, if you don't do a podcast, if there is a link somewhere where someone can watch you speaking, we want to make sure it sounds like that person, not that dull, boring resume. We want it to have your personal branding. So that consistency is really crucial. Make sure that it has a feel where it's like, oh, I visit your website, I visit your LinkedIn page, I visit your um, podcast, and it all sounds the same. You don't want to go land on your LinkedIn profile and your LinkedIn profile is all about your podcast, because you do more than just a podcast. I mean, if you just do podcasting, that's fine. But if you're an influencer, you might have a different strategy, but You want your LinkedIn profile to really make you shine and be the banner of everything that you do. So think of your tool belt and laying it out, and here's
Mhm.
everything and how I can get there very quickly, very efficiently, and the Cole's Notes version. We also want to make sure that if you've got lead magnets on there, that they are clickable. If you have calendar links, put them in your LinkedIn. You know, it's that extra step to take them to your page. If you could just have the link right on your profile, you're going to do so much better. And
You
then,
know, Tash, I'm sorry to interrupt, but because your background, one of the things that you had said in one of the meetings that we
yeah.
had is every time somebody has to click deeper, that you lose, and it's an obscene percentage. And
Mhm.
so what you making it so much easier, you, as I'm talking about using the voice print, making it so much easier for people to get to what they want is why I don't know why you guys are making it so darn difficult for people to schedule time with you or consume your content. It's not helping you, it's really hurting you.
It truly is. And you know, Matt, I was watching another webinar and they had some downloadable content. And I think I had to do, I think I counted 14 different types of
Oh
clicks
God.
to get to it. I actually didn't even end up using the piece of content that they were giving me because it was so many clicks. And to me, my brain goes back to databases, and this is where you'll see the nerd in me a little bit. When a database, you have to go from one table to another table to another table, and then over here to this table to get the data
Mhm.
to bring it all the way back. Well, it not only slows your system down, but if you think about that wheel and how it would apply, it ain't making it go any faster.
Nope.
You're actually breaking something there. So it's so, so important to make sure that you think everything through. And that's where general optimization doesn't always do that for you.
You know, you have another thing on here that I want to address very quickly because our industry is really, really bad about this. It is the jargon, right? And so I had another sales call a little while ago, and I was checking out his LinkedIn, and his name, Tash, had 10 different designations after his last name. And here's the funny thing. I've been in financial services since 2006. I didn't even know what some of them were. And I asked him, I said, I don't really understand why you have all, well, I want them to know that I'm super educated. Okay. Shouldn't they want you to know that you're a really good financial advisor? Because if all you're doing is spending your time studying, I would rather have you providing me with great client service. And we do that a lot. It's kind of that flex, like, hey, you know, I've got my CFP and my CHFC and my CLU and my CFA and all of these sorts of things. The general public has no idea what the hell those things are. And more importantly, they're not searching for those. So sorry, go ahead.
No, and they don't feel like that handshake either. They're not a
Nope.
story. You didn't, when you relate with a story and something that you just experienced, you can see the passion come out in the way that you speak. And you can see that really clearly on podcasting. And that's why we believe in it so much here at Proudmouth, is because there's no other way to get your point across better than your authentic voice. And that is something that you really, really need to master again on all of your platforms to make sure that that real voice comes through and you make that real impact to your end audience. And don't be afraid to spell it out exactly what you want them to do when they land on your profile, because they don't need to play, I got to read your mind. Okay. So who can relate to this as their banner on their LinkedIn profile? Something really basic, it's got your name on there, it tells your, status. It's like a business card, company that you work for. Joe, he's got it pretty basic. A lot of your our companies that we work with, they have a standard branding that they want you to use. Don't be afraid to speak up and say, hey, this isn't working. There's no links to these things on my platform. And with this standard banner that you're giving me that I'm supposed to use, because sometimes there are some limitations on what we can do, we want to make sure that we add to your wheel. So right now you got a banner up there. It checks the box. It's got your name. It's got what you do. It's got your company. But let's add some more spokes. This here is something that tells you exactly what you do. It tells your story. They have a line on here that says, "Your passion is animals. Ours is your financial future." How
Mhm.
captivating is
Yeah.
that, right? From tailored financial planning to real conversations on our podcast. Catch that. The very front, when we said, "Who is Joe?" He had a podcast,
Mhm.
is reinforcing that Joe has a podcast. We help you turn hard work into lasting security and balance. That's the problem you're solving: security and balance. They are looking at veterinary clinics. You can see very clearly that they work with veterinarians. It looks like a teamwork type environment. There's some awesome imagery in there. And then the one key thing I see on this right away is that color contrast. So you'll notice that there is green and there is orange. And you all will have probably a branded color guideline that you're supposed to use. You're going to want to pick your opposite colors on the color wheel so that it stands out. Because right now, what's jumping off the page for me is podcast. So I can click and go see the podcast and their actual company page. Now, the other cool thing is here, recommendation I would give is put your company page, but link it right to the contact me page.
Mm.
Instead of it being a landing page and now they got to go click around and you're sending them on a wild goose chase, you can have them go directly to your contact us page. So again, you're adding more spokes to that wheel so that you can go a little bit faster. All right, check this about section out.
So, Tash, very quickly, I one of our participants, I'm not going to say who it is. I'm actually on his LinkedIn profile right now, and I
Mm,
knew that you were going to bring up this about section. His is textbook this side here. I mean, it sounds just like a CV. It is me, 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 me. It's unbelievably poorly written, but I
mhm.
know that they paid somebody to do this.
So another thing is typically everything's templated.
Yeah.
Right? We pay for some of these things as templated, and there isn't an interview. It's not really formalized on the actual questions and tailored to you. This is the set of questions that we ask for every single person, and we don't go
Mhm.
outside those guidelines because you're sent a link to probably fill that out. Um, there is going to probably be some sort of a template that they're building and they're feeding it into. They got to make sure
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z is covered. Well, this about section talks about past responsibilities. It talks about over the years. It is very chest pumping.
Yeah.
It almost gives this like arrogant type feel to it and very blah and dull, and it doesn't make me want to read it. Now, this one, for instance, and I've highlighted a few things, I can see that he loves animals. What more appealing to somebody who works with veterinarians so they have something relatable, which is amazing. I can see how long he has been doing it for. I can see why he built his practice. I can see how often he hears his clients saying that he gets so much help. There's a testimonial right
Yeah.
inside of it. And then he's also coming back and saying, "I host the vet advisory podcast." Just reinstating all of that consistency across the board that we keep talking about is so important, that everywhere you go, hey, I know that you've got a podcast. I know that you do this. I know that you um, are looking for speaking arrangements. These things are so crucial. And just the way that it is laid out, the bullet points, the
Yeah.
way it's easy to read, it is so much more compelling than what you see on the left-hand side.
And it's so warm, Tash. I mean, it just that headline, right? You know, I'm a lucky dog dad to three hilarious pugs, right? I mean, if speak my language, if okay, so veterinarians is one example, but let's say you work with veterans, right? Because we have a lot of people who are really focusing on the veteran space, especially the veteran entrepreneur space. Um, and I talk to them often, and you know, right at the beginning, it'll say something like, "I've got your six." Okay, so now I know who I'm talking to, right? Or a Navy buddy of mine has got one that's his headline is "Squids Rule," right? Because
Yes.
we're referred to as squids. And so you just stop making it so damn stuffy, everybody, and make it warm and inviting. I mean, Tash, this is just like the night and day difference. And I know so many of you are looking at that about saying section saying, "Oh God."
Yeah.
That's what my about section looks like. And that's why we've created my voice print. And again, shameless promotion, but I'd love to talk to you about it because we're really, really proud of what the team has built.
Hmm. And you know what? Do you know how many profiles I have reviewed and how many optimizations I have even run? And it is, it's exactly that, Matt. It's all exactly the same, just with let's plop my piece in it. There's no personality, there's no emotion in there, there's no feeling that makes me go, "Ah, I want to go work with this person." It just feels like a resume. And if I wanted your resume, I'd ask for it.
Right.
So, under experience,
Mm.
this again, very, very typical. I'm responsible for the strategic oversight and delivery. Great. That's awesome. You might even have a few other things in there. I don't care about what your actual job is in your day to day role. What I do care about, because it's like the cooks in the kitchen, right? When you think about a chef, I don't want to go in there and hear about all of the things that you did to cook my meal. I just want to enjoy the meal. And I want to feel a certain way when I go to that restaurant. And it's the experience that I feel when I go to that restaurant. From the moment I show up to the way it tastes to how you clean up my food and bring out the next plate. Those things are the things that really matter. And what's the service going to be like? So when you sit here and you look at this from a different angle by rewriting your experience section, you need to talk more about what are you doing? You reduce the stress and gain financial clarity. So helping veterinarians do that, you're solving a problem.
Mhm.
Amazing. If I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going there to have a really great meal. Check that box.
Mhm.
I advise on student loans, practice ownership, and retirement planning. All the things that you do. Check, check, check. That restaurant serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Amazing. I can go anytime. Creates strategies that balance personal goals with clinic demands.
Mm.
Oh, how many times do you hear that the balance just isn't there and people are so busy in the way that life is, and add kids into the mix and add, you know, school events and sports and all these things. Everyone is so busy and balance is a huge crazy thing. You have checked so many boxes just by saying that you provide balance.
Mhm.
It's like an aha moment. You provide clear, actionable guidance. Perfect. It still states how long you have been there and that experience side of things, but it doesn't do it in a tacky way. Everyday Vet Advisory Podcast, we just reinstated it again. And
Mhm.
it's okay that it's in different sections, because what happens if they just go read your about section? What happens if somebody just lands there and they wanted to get a picture of you to know who's the person? I want to put a face to the person I'm going to be speaking to on the next meeting. Well, they're probably going to see your banner that has your podcast, Watch My Podcast. So it is so crucial that you are putting podcast everywhere in all of those different areas and kind of repeating yourself, but it's telling the same story, that same consistency everywhere, so that if they just graze over certain sections, they still catch that, hey, he's got a podcast. Because we're trying to drive that wheel, again, LinkedIn, over to that wheel of the digital marketing to get them to all these other platforms. Again, it's simple, it's approachable.
So it would be one thing if it was just, Tash is whip smart and, we've been doing this for a really long time, because those things are all true, right? Just to remind everybody, we've done 10,000 podcast episodes and over 150,000 social media posts. And Tash is bringing her team to you with unbelievable levels of experience. But there's also huge psychological reasoning why this freaking works, man. And for those of you who have, consumed our podcast, and especially our new Rise Above the Noise podcast, the Top Advisor Marketing podcast, seeing me talk on stage or webinars, I'm always bringing up Dr. Robert Cialdini's principles of influence. And we're not going to spend a lot of time here because I really, really want to be able to answer any questions. So if you all want, I know some of you have been, well, a lot of people have actually been commenting, which is great. But if you have any specific questions about my voice print, how it works or anything like that, please put those questions in the Q&A right now, because we've got about 10, 15 minutes left. But the psychological foundation for this is very clear. And for those of you who don't know who Dr. Robert Cialdini is, he basically studied ethical influence on a PhD level. So he actually would send out his graduate students and do all of these tests to prove the now 7 different principles of influence. And we're just going to talk about a couple. And liking is one of my favorite, because here's the thing. If they like you, right, they're going to probably continue to scroll. Right. And the other thing about liking that's very, very important is if you do it correctly, you're going to repel as many people as you attract. And you need to be okay with that. The old school days of you're going to work with anybody who will fog a mirror, that's not the case, right? You have to be very hyper focused and speak language. In Tash's examples were, the chef's kiss. That's exactly what you should be saying in those, because that's what really, really works. Consistency and authority. We talk about consistency all the time, but it's not just consistency in posting. It's being consistent across all of those platforms. As Tash said, that wheel needs to be consistent, because if one of those spokes is bad, Bob's your uncle, you're on the ground. Right. And I don't know if any of you have hit a tree while you're mountain biking or misjudged something, which I have many, many times, and I've got lots of scars to prove it. You have to have those wheels tight, ready to go, and really pointing in the same direction. But authority is the other thing. What a lot of you think authority is actually not what your ideal target market wants to hear from you. They don't want to hear about, the fact that you've been on Fox News. They don't want to see 19 different thousand things behind your name to show how freaking smart you are. Prove it to me. Prove it with authentic content that I can consume when it's convenient for me, speaking my language and talking to my problems, right? That's the ultimate important thing. Tash, we actually have a question here. Do we need to have a podcast to access my voice print services? Oh, you just answered it. Well, can you answer it live?
No, we have our LinkedIn Authenticator package, and we built this. We toyed around. Is this going to be just for our people? But why keep this a secret? This is something that whether you have a podcast or you don't have a podcast, or you're thinking to have a podcast, you want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is up to snuff. And what we do here when you sign up for our LinkedIn Authenticator package is you actually meet with Matt. And then Matt will connect you with myself or one of our account managers, and we do a personalized interview. And we ask you all of those questions. How many dogs do you have? Are you a dog dad? The real things that matter, not just the checklist, so that we can really capture your true voice and the experience that you want people to feel when they land on your landing page, and make it feel like a billboard. So the answer is yes, we still offer this service to people that are outside of our Proudmouth clients, and we also offer it to people who don't do podcasting.
All right. What other questions do you all have? Thank you, Heather, for that wonderful question. Um, you know, Hey, Meredith. So Meredith has been asking questions about editing her LinkedIn profile. Meredith, this is a great example of one, either joining our Pod Rocket Influence Academy or setting a free strategy session with me, because we can just go ahead and I can look at your profile and I can walk you through it. That's really what the free strategy sessions are. And then, of course, I'd love to talk to you more about, this new system that we're rolling out and potentially what the other products and services that we can offer. But this is the best thing that we've brought to the marketplace in a while because number one, it's going to help you sound like you instead of sounding like a flippin' robot. Now, the other thing that's really important, and Tash didn't say this, which is actually a little surprising. I'm going to put you on the spot there, Tash, because you use this word all the time, which is compliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we just showed today is compliant because you're actually not saying anything that violates FINRA or the SEC guidelines at all. You're just being more personal with how you're presenting yourself. It's like the About Us section, which by the way is the number one clicked on thing on any website. It's like taking the About Us section and turning it into something that's actionable and engaging. And that's what this whole system that Tash and our team here at Proudmouth has built. And this is what you get. All right, Tash, you want to walk through all of the different wonderful things that you get?
Absolutely. So what we do during your session is we walk you through your brand voice interview and we ask you questions that you wouldn't even think to be asked. I have had people say that it felt like a therapy session when they left, and we might become best friends when we're done that session because you really do get to open up and really talk to somebody one-on-one. And a lot of the times, I hate scripted type flows because one question can lead to another question. And if you give an answer, you might want to dive more into that answer and why someone feels that way. So it's so important to have that one-on-one um, conversation to make this all come and be effective. What we do is we take a look at your headline, your about, and your experience sections, and we rewrite them all. Then we look at your CTA strategy. So talk to you about what downloadables do you have? What CTAs are you looking to get? Where do you want to drive traffic? You know, I'll also look at your featured section, or we will take a look at your featured section and give you recommendations on what you should be putting there. And they're going to be things that maybe you never thought you should put there. So, maybe it's directing to your podcast, or maybe you have lead magnets on there that you want to be directing them to, or maybe it's a booking page. Maybe you've done you sat on a panel and you have a short little clip of that. Those are awesome things that we could put in there. So
Yeah.
I give you all the recommendations just based on your experience, not the resume type experience, but your real life experiences and the things that you've done so that we can kind of pull all of that to the foreground and give you recommendations on what you can do there. We also take a look at your visuals and we go,
Mhm.
okay, here's your banner today. Does it look like average Joe or do we make it pop? And how can we do that? And sometimes when there's limitations, it's those little links in there that we can optimize and use at the top panel, or there's different ways that we can incorporate the branding. There's lots of ways around any sort of compliance pieces of it. And then we've also got copy and paste implementation guide. So when you're done, you're able to simply just go and grab it, put it in there, grab it, put it in there, and you're going to know exactly where everything should go. And then finally, because I never deliver something, it's just like that putting a post out and ghosting it. I'm not that gal. um, I always like to make sure that we have another meeting, and my team believes in this sternly to make sure everything feels aligned. So we'll go back in, we'll take a look. Did you update those recommendations? Does everything look good? How are you feeling about it? And then I want to know, was it successful? In a month's time, I want to follow up and go, what was that transition like? Because Matt's transition has been remarkable.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that you're feeling good about this. And this is something that I've been asked as well. Is this something that is a one-time thing? No. If anything changes, if you are rebranding, if you are, adding a new service to your profile, if you are, coming up with a whole new way of looking at your business, because you can still be doing the same thing, but you have a new methodology, all of your um, views are going to change.
Mhm.
Think about the advisors that change branches. So their whole statement and the way that they thought working for company A sounds totally different working for company B. And maybe you have certain mission statements that you're trying to achieve that you want to incorporate in there. Those little tiny details just because you think, hey, I got the same role, it's just at a different company, it ain't a copy and paste and just push it up here. You have to tailor it to what you're actually doing and the type of messaging you're trying to portray.
So a couple of things. People are booking, which is amazing. So thank you all for going ahead and booking. Graham has a question here, and Tash, you're more than welcome to handle this, or I can too. We're working towards launching a new durable digital presence at our firm. We're still in the process of sorting out compliance as it pertains to LinkedIn use, comments like shares and whatever. We're very excited to be more active on LinkedIn users, but we're unsure on how to build a compliance policy that is with the times. Do you want to take that, or do you want me to take that?
So when you say compliance policy, is you are going to be pushing this out to everybody in your organization?
So I think what he wants to do is to try to figure out how to do that
Mm-hmm.
within all of the players in the organization to make sure that one, they're compliant, but two, they're on message.
Got you. So I would actually create a standard one. This service would be great for you to look at it more from a brand perspective as a company strategy as opposed to a personal strategy. Then you can take all of that information and you can apply it to all of um, your staff.
The other thing too to keep in mind with that, sorry, I was just responding to somebody. Ian Calloway says compliance has three audiences: regulator, employer, and client. It's very, very true.
Mm.
The other thing to keep in mind too is every single solitary compliance department seems to interpret the regulations differently. And so one of the things that I know Graham and a couple of other people are concerned about is the kind of engagement that you could have with liking and sharing and commenting and all of those sorts of things. There are ways, and I'm going to give you the magic formula in the last 4 minutes here on how do you get things past compliance, is when they come back and say you can't do it, your response to them is, what can I do to make this compliant? You're not going to get pissy with them. You're the business prevention department. No, you're not doing any of that crap. What you're going to do is you're going to very specifically say, what can I do to make this compliant? So we've actually gotten two people who've already scheduled, so I really appreciate that. Listen, I want everybody to know I have a very, very simple job here at Proudmouth, is to be helpful, right? So Kirk and I, when we built this whole program, our whole idea with Proudmouth was to lead with kindness and generosity. And so I have 30 spots on my calendar for 30 half-hour appointments so that I can be available to answer your guys' questions. And if I am busy, guess what? Tash can handle it. We got other people on the team that can handle it. So we really love to be able to spend some one-on-one time with all of you, really as a thank you for joining us. We had actually very, very good attendance on our webinar today, which we're very excited about. And so everybody, thank you very, very much. Let's see, Heather says, yes. So on that link, you should be able to choose whatever date you want to schedule. It can be this week, next week, 3 weeks out. That shouldn't be a problem. So Heather, that should be able to handle that. Um, Graham, I hope that, I'm glad that Tash answered your question. But if you're not following Tash, let's just do a couple of quick pieces of shameless promotion. If you're not following Tash on LinkedIn, please make sure that you do. If you're not following me on LinkedIn, please make sure that you do. But more importantly, follow Proudmouth. If you want to know what our greatest thoughts are about content marketing, audio, video, all things LinkedIn, all things content marketing, follow Proudmouth. And even better, if you follow us on LinkedIn, either Kirk, myself, or Proudmouth, you should sign up for the Rocket Fuel newsletter, which, by the way, we got huge uptake on, which was fantastic because people really do seem to think that it's very valuable, which I'm very, very grateful for Tash and our marketing team to be able to help with that. So with that, everybody, if you have any other questions, oh, goodness gracious, there are other questions in here.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
also want to mention if any of you are a current Proudmouth client and you're thinking you'd love to learn more about this, feel free to also contact your account manager. For the first few of these, you'll actually get to work with me because I'm going to be doing it with the account managers one-on-one for the first little while, just to make sure that this is just something that needs to have the right touch of Tash, let's put it that way. But I want to make sure that everything sounds like you and that you are getting that experience that you really want. Matt and I have created a really cool onboarding system that works really awesome for your podcast. And we're using that type of methodology within all of these tools so that we can get your profiles just working like rock stars. I really want to see that wheel turning. And the other thing is if you sign up for all of those newsletters, you're also going to hear when we have new products like this launching. We are working really hard to bring more services to the table because we know how much you guys are wanting to add different spokes to your wheel. So stay tuned, sign up for all of those things, reach out to Matt if you've got questions, send me a nudge if you've got any questions. I am happy to answer them. And this is just truly something that we're all passionate about here. And you're going to feel that energy with everyone that you work with.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very, very much. Please make sure that you click on those sorts of things. We all appreciate you being here, and we'll see you for another webinar next month. Bye.